Kizengeze Badrular Hong Kigdrege Inshallah Yundo Borbang borbo Hong Badrular Hong Postam no Hong Shalayindo
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of World Martial Arts Radio. I am your host, Alex Collazo. I have a very special guest coming on the show. He is someone that was friends with Bruce Lee for many years back in the day. And I believe that he was also responsible for helping Bruce Lee create Jeet Kune Do. He learned from Bruce Lee, but also was a mentor for Bruce Lee in some areas. And this gentleman coming on the show now is somebody that I look up to. He's one of my role models in the martial arts, a legend himself. It's Grandmaster Leo Fong. And back in the day, he had a lot of adventures with Bruce Lee. When Bruce Lee was alive, he has so much to share with us about martial arts and martial science and about his life back in the day, you know, when he was very active in the creation of his martial art, Wei Kuen Do. And, well, we're going to be talking to him soon. He'll be calling the show. And I can't wait. I just can't wait to talk to him. It's been my dream, you know, to have a conversation with him and ask him about his time with Bruce Lee and you know, how he came about creating and founding the art of Wei Kuen Do, and just asking him about martial science and in general. I mean, because he's just like this treasure box of martial knowledge. I mean, this guy just knows so much about martial arts. And anyway, now we're gonna take a small break real quick, and then we're going to have Leo Fong on the phone. So everybody get ready, because, you know, we're gonna get educated a little bit. And remember that you are
now listening to World Martial Arts Radio.
Hey, thanks for the interview, by the way, okay?
Yeah, sure.
Listen, I just wanted to ask you about Wei Kuen Do. You know, can you tell me a little bit about the science behind it and its concepts and when you founded it and all that?
You know, when I came out here to California in 1954 from Arkansas, in Arkansas there were two things they had there: boxing and wrestling. And so I was an amateur boxer. I fought bootleg fights. And then when I went to college, I joined a boxing team.
Wow.
And so I was a member of the boxing team. They had the program for 1 year, and then they terminated. So I went over to the National Guard. They had a team there because they had a lot of boxing clubs all over Arkansas. Because every year, for I don't know how many years before, they had an annual AAU tournament. They brought in all the fighters from all over the state, and when they win that tournament, they go to the nationals in Boston, National AAU, and that's where they weed out the weak from the strong. And then anyway, I had about 25 formal fights, and I won 18 of my knockouts, and I had a left. That's all I had, but I knew how to use it 5 different ways, and just kind of developed it along the way because being Asian in Arkansas, back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, you got picked on a lot. And a lot of my cousins quit going to school because they got picked on. For some reason, I stayed with it and fought back. And I got at least 2 fights every couple of weeks. And so I kind of, developed my edge that way. And then formally, I had a book by Barney Ross, 12 years old. I read it, and I practiced what I understood was in there. And he was world middleweight champion back in the 30s, and one world welterweight champion.
Wow.
And when I went off to college and I got my first formal boxing instructions from a guy who was Army champion in World War II, and he was going to school there, and he wanted to start a boxing team. So after he left college, the boxing team didn't have a coach, so they disbanded it. And then, so anyway, I was in the ministry. I studied the theology at Southern Methodist University after I graduated from college in Arkansas. And I came out here to California, Sacramento, and so I started seeing signs. Before, you didn't even know what the word karate was, but there were signs jiu-jitsu. One of Bruce Tegner's, he used to write a lot of books, and he was out of Ventura, California. And so I saw the sign jiu-jitsu, so I stopped my car and went upstairs, and there was a Valdes y Londa dance studio, but the guy who's teaching dancing was also a student of jiu-jitsu. So I asked him, I didn't know what jiu-jitsu was. I used to read a book about it, and so I actually took jiu-jitsu from him for about a year, and by then 6 months in the program, I was able to pin him and really beat him, But I stayed with him because he was a nice guy, and finally he told me he's going to move to Southern California. So then I went over to the YMCA, and there I got into the judo program there, and got up to green belt, and that guy's name was Bob Bendix, and he hung around with Ben Camel and Walt Harris. And Walt Harris was an Olympic champion, and so I trained with him for a while, but all along my boxing survived all these things. One night I remember a bunch of old ladies came. They supported the YMCA program, so they came and just visited and see what's going on, and so they came to the judo program. So he was going to demonstrate to them what judo was about. So he said, "Hey, Fong, throw a punch." I shot a left jab out there, and he reached out, and there was nothing there to reach. So he got, and he says, "God damn it, don't you know how to throw a punch?" I said, "Well, Bob, how do you throw a punch?" So he throws a left jab out there and let it hang. So I said, "Oh, that's what you want." So I threw it out and let it hang. He grabbed my arm, got in and threw a hip throw and slammed me into the mat. So I slapped the mat like I was practicing to break the fall, and got up. It was okay, And then right there, I said to myself, "Wait a minute. The key to beating a judo guy is to keep distance and stick and move." And so I learned early how to use boxing to defend against judo and jiu-jitsu. And of course, a couple of years later, I quit and left the program. And I wrestled a little bit because there was a guy named Frank Lawrence who used to wrestle at San Jose State University, asked me to come and join the wrestling program. So I learned a few moves in the wrestling, but always my heart was in boxing. I was a stand-up guy and keep distance. And so I heard there was a Korean guy at the Sacramento State University, and and I looked him up and found out he was a Taekwondo guy trained under Quan Ki. And so he started coming to my church in the social hall during the week and trained me and a couple of firemen. So it's about 3 or 4 of us paid him, and he'd come over and train us. Then after 2 years, he decided to go back to Korea, and so one day I got this letter, and it was a first degree black belt, the certificate. He promoted me to first degree black belt, and then I decided, well, that's 1958. I decided to go to San Francisco and look around and see if I can find a Kung Fu school. And so I saw an old man standing on the corner, and I said to him, is there any Kung Fu schools around? He said, yeah, there's 2. There's one up there by the church and one down here by the basement near the park. And I said, which one is best? He said, well, the guy by the park is an old guy, and one guy upstairs is a little younger. So I said, well, maybe an old man would be better. So I went down to that basement thing, and I met a guy named Lo Bun, which is Charlie Futt Master. And I want to know what I want to do, why I want to learn Kung Fu and all that. And then so I used to drive from Sacramento to San Francisco, which was about an hour and a half drive, every week. And I trained with him for about 3 years and in Charlie Futt. And then I said, well, I'm going to go up there and see that young guy that he was talking about that I missed. So I went up there by the Baptist church and went in, and there was T.Y. Wong, Professor T.Y. Wong. He was in his 50s, and he was smoking a cigarette. And so I went and talked to him and asked him about his program. He said, and he just got to explain to me. And then there was a guy doing forms in front of the mirror with weights. And he turns and looks, and he says, he came and walked over to me and said, my name is Jimmy Lee. He said, are you interested in Kung Fu? I said, yeah, I trained at the Charlie Futt School. So he said, well, why don't you join us? And I said, well, I'll try it. And so I was going over there and going to the Silum, and it turned out it was Silum Kung Fu. And so I developed a friendship with Jimmy, because he comes in on Friday night and trained, and hardly anybody there. And then he had, he helped write a book on Silum Kung Fu, and then so I got a copy of it. He gave me a copy, and I still have it. And then he said one day after a few months there, and he said, hey, Leo, I'm going to get out of here. I said, why? He said, a guy accused me of cheating about $10 from these books. And they said, screw him. I'm going to go start my own class in my garage and, in my house. He said, if you don't come along, you're welcome. I said, yeah, I'll go with you. So I left with him, and it wasn't too long there. He says, hey, I'm going to have a young guy come into Wally J's luau. And every year, Wally J would have a luau to raise funds for his Pacific Island judo club. And then he said, I will have him, this year it's going to be a young guy named Bruce Lee. I said, how young is he? He said, 21 years old. I said, 21, what do you know? He said, well, you see, the guy's fantastic. And sure enough, I went to the luau, and Bruce jumped on the stage and said, anybody want to... Well, first of all, he did a demonstration of all kinds of crazy movements of Kung Fu movement. Mainly, I think it's Northern style Kung Fu, slapping his leg and stuff like that. And then he asked a question to the audience. He said, how the hell do you think you guys could fight with those movements? And I looked at all the Kung Fu masters out there in the audience, and they were all turned red in the face. He said, it's a classical mess. That's what he said. He said, it's like trying to fight your way out of a fish net. So then he said, so he says, now I'm going to demonstrate what I do. So he called it Chun Kung Fu. And so he asked for volunteers, and nobody, took up his offers. And finally, some big old football player-like guy jumped on the stage, and he said, you ready? And he said, so the guy gets in a fighting stance, and boom, he shoots a jab and hit him right on the forehead. and he said, and then he said, well, maybe you're not ready. You're ready again? And the guy said, yeah. Boom, he did again, and touched him. And the guy was trying to block it, just too late. And then he asked a couple of guys to come in and try the same thing, and they all same thing. And he was so fast. And then anyway, after the luau, Jimmy said to me, he said, we're going to get together on Monday. On Monday, this was I think a Friday night or Saturday night, I don't remember. And he said, we're going to get Monday at my house. Bruce is staying over the weekend. And you're welcome to come, and we're going to have a little bit of, bull session, So I got there, and Baker was there, and then I remember Bob Baker was there and a couple other guys. So we were just rapping there, and Bruce wanted to show a 1-inch punch, and he had Bob Baker put the Oakland phone book, which is real thick, on his chest. And so Bruce, boom, he snapped his wrist, and Bob Baker hit the couch, went over the couch. And I was pretty impressed with that. And then the next thing, he blindfolded and was doing cheese up with Bob and moving him all over the place, slapping him around. And but I the thing is, I got thinking about it later, and then he abandoned all that later. As far as it was good demonstration stuff, and then everything changed after his Wong Jongman fight. He found out that stuff didn't work, and I was the one that told him. I said, "You know what I've done, Bruce? I would have grabbed him by the back of the head, jerked him back, and punched him here, punched him with crosses, uppercuts, and hooks." And he said, "Yeah, I got to do something." And that was on telephone. I talked to him, but he told me what happened after the fight. So then I went down the next day, and he went to Wing Chun to what he called later Wei Kuen Do. He bouncing all over the place. He had a leather glove hanging from a chain from the ceiling. He was jabbing it, and hooking it, and then bouncing all over the place.
Is it true that you taught him how to box?
I didn't teach him how to box, but I shared my boxing skills with him. And he was one that developed his own skills in boxing. See, DKD is more boxing and kickboxing than anything else. But not really original is that Bruce has had a knack of looking at what you do, and if he likes it, he can regurgitate it and come out, and you can't even tell it's yours. You think that's what he did with Jun Rhee. He learned a spinning back kick from Chuck Norris, and he learned the other kicks from side kicks and high kicks like that from Jun Rhee. And because I remember before he met those guys and got to know them, he only kicked about waist high, the Wing Chun kick, real stiff, just kicking right straight in there. But he made it work fast, and very, very good, very athletic, and he's very good at innovating things. And that's what he had, and nobody can imitate Bruce Lee. I mean, nobody can be Bruce Lee. They might try to imitate him. They wouldn't have any depth. Well, that's what I did. So Wei Kuen Do is an influence of Bruce Lee and boxing. Because the turning point in my life was I was training at different places, Chole Fut, Siu Lam, Taekwondo, and all these places. And he said to me one day, he said, "Hey, how come you go to all so limited places?" I said, "Bruce, I'm looking for the ultimate, man. And one of those arts going to have the ultimate thing that I'm looking for. If there ain't no ultimate, boy." And he take his finger and puts it in my chest. He said, "The ultimate's in there." And I said, "Wow." I thought about it when I drove home, and I said, "Wait a minute. Every time I got into a fight with somebody, a martial artist, I always end up popping them with a left hook or setting it up with a left jab." I said, "I'll just use boxing." I didn't realize I was that far advanced at classical martial arts. Didn't work against a good boxer, especially if he knew how to stop those kicks and stuff. And so I got to developing my skills from the theory that I share with Bruce Lee and theory he shared with me, and I call it Wei Kuen Do, a way of integrated fist. I said, don't accumulate, don't imitate, integrate.
Wow, that's nice.
That's what Kuen Do is. It's a personal journey of boxing, embracing all these other elements. But like what I use as an analogy is like a chicken. You don't realize how many different components go in making an egg. If you watch a hen in the yard, he's going to peck here, peck there all day, and then he's going to cackle and come out of the eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
So anyway, that was the beginning, and that's what Wei Kuen Do is all about. And he's really came a long ways. I see that name was not made up by me. It was given to me. I was in Hong Kong in 1974 after Bruce Lee died, and wanted to interview me with the Hong Kong Martial Arts magazine. And so Tim Chang, who was production manager on Enter the Dragon, was a good friend of mine. So he picked me up from the hotel and said that he had set up an interview with a martial arts magazine in Hong Kong. I still have the cover, I have that magazine, and I got the cover of it. They went out of business, but it's 74. And they did an article on Bruce Lee, and then one on me. It's all in Chinese. And he said, "What's your style of martial arts?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "I've done karate, I've done Choi Fut Kung Fu, Wing Chun Kung Fu, and all these Kung Fu styles, and wrestling and boxing and jiu-jitsu." He said, "Why don't we call it Wei Kuen Do?" I said, "What's that?" He said, "Wei means the stomach, and that's where all the food is integrated, and Kuen is a fist, and Do is a way. Wei Kuen Do, way of the integrated fist." I said, "Hey, that's okay." So when the interviewer asked me, he said, "What style of martial art do you practice?" I said, "Wei Kuen Do." And I got back from Hong Kong in late 74. I wrote a book on the psychodynamic of free fighting, Wei Kuen Do, psychodynamic of free fighting, and in it gave me all the basic stuff I started gel in my head. And so I look back at that book. It entails hitting, kicking, and grappling, and way before MMA. I mean, a lot of people remind me, said, "Hey, you were forerunner of MMA," but you didn't call it MMA. I said, "No, I call it Wei Kuen Do." So, because we used to work out, and we go from hitting to kicking to grappling. But now I realize I won't get on the ground, because I took Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a year from the Machado brothers, and I just want to feel like what it feels like with these guys. And so now I come to the conclusion, I know how they're going to get me down to the ground. I avoid it, so I keep distance. And I got an acronym called DRAT, D-R-A-T-T. And DRAT, D is distance, R is relax, focus, A is angles, and T is timing, and T is technique and timing.
Wow, that's really awesome. That's a really awesome concept, Master Leo Fong.
Yeah, right now, I got students, man. You can say, "Well, I can do this, do that," and mostly these Bruce Lee wannabes. Everybody's doing Wei Kuen Do, and they're not too good at it. Yeah, see, they're just imitating. All they're doing is going around and kicking to the knee and hitting to the finger jab to the eye. All I got to do is turn my head a half an inch. You're going to miss my eye. And all I got to do is shift my foot and hit you at the same time. Your knee kick is not going to be effective. Wow. See, because in Wei Kuen Do now, we fight at angles. I don't jab straight into your face. I jab and my whole body's to the right. And while my left hand is in your face. Wow. And we do it all in one movement. It's not like ping, 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 Wow. And I practice that with a chair. See, I go boom, and then with the boxing skills go along with it, it's pretty effective. I'm not saying it's unbeatable, but you're gonna get somebody that's got good reflex action, and he's gonna give you a hard time, But you come at me with a Jeet Kune Do approach like all these guys do, that's around the world. They're learning, and they do the same thing. They kick to the knee, jab eye, jab to the eye, because there's a couple of instructors teaching that, thinking it'll work, but they don't realize. In my approach, I don't go for compliancy. In other words, we free fight. We don't have somebody stand there and just become the object receiving what you throw, and then you go and laugh and say, "Oh man, I can kick everybody's ass," No, I'm a boxer. You go into use the boxing. Highest compliment I ever had was in 74, 75 in the Philippines. I fought a guy named Flash Manning. I mean, we were sparring. I was in the gym working out, and he was watching. He said, "You want to spar with me?" And I said, "Well, you look pretty big." He was 156 pounds. I was only 140. And he said, "Well, I used to spar with Archie Moore when he used to come to the Philippines on the way to Australia." And I said, okay, we'll spar. So I put the gloves on. I held my own against him. He punched me a couple of times in the body, kind of lifted me up a little bit, but I hit him in the face a couple of times too. Then finally he says, do what you want to do, and I just want to box you. I said, okay. And so it was no match. As soon as he stepped forward, I stepped back, and I swept his leg for a minute and hit him with a left hook. He went down and he was laughing. He said, man, he said, you look like a boxer, but you ain't. Look like a boxer, but you ain't. I said, hey, Flash, that's the highest compliment I ever got from anybody. They don't categorize me and say, hey, you're a boxer. But he said, you're a boxer, but you look like a boxer, but you're not. That's what I wanted to, I don't want to be predictable, see? Yeah. So that's where I'm coming from. And that's what I teach nowadays. I did away with forms. I used to practice Taekwondo forms, Chole Foot forms, Sulam form. And I said, man, I'm so bogged up trying to not forget those things that I do them. It took me all day to get through a workout. Some of those Chole Foot forms is 110 movements.
Wow.
But it's good for exercise. See, if you pick out one or two and do it consistently, and with weights, you can with hand weights, you can probably do pretty good. Yeah.
So I was gonna ask you, you taught Lee Lolio as well. He's a really good guy,
Yeah. I showed him. I organized techniques. Angles of attack. I got 10 techniques in there, and then I have basically my whole system is based on angle attack, circle destruction, trapping, and countering, and footwork, and so. But I'm now trying to summarize the whole thing without covering everything, without spending a lot of time on a lot of techniques. In other words, boil down to where you only do a few techniques 1,000 times rather than 1,000 techniques a few times.
Yeah.
So, but Lee, he has a boxing background, and so that's why you got a boxing background. You can do well in street sparring, because that's all boxers do. They street sparring. They don't play around. Yeah.
I mean, judging from the pics, you're over 80, right, at the moment?
I'm 87. I will be 87 in November.
And you still look like you're in great shape, and you move so well. How do you do that?
By never quitting. I've been training ever since I got the first fight in first grade.
Oh my goodness.
Feed chicken. I used to feed 200 chickens. Well, in Arkansas, we lived in a little town. There was about 800 people, and my parents had a chicken in the background, and I used to feed those things. I go feed it with corn chops in a big bucket. I would curl the corn chops and stuff before I throw the corn out into the yard for the chicken to go and peck on it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I found some window weights. They used to have those weights in the windows. And you push the weight up, the weight will pull down and pull the window up. That's the old time, the window weights. And then I found a bunch of those in the yard, and I picked up one of them. They weigh about 3 pounds a piece. So I would curl those things and press with them. Then I would get 3 of them and wear them out. So, but anyway, I have to. My wife is signaling me that we got to go to a meeting, to a dinner. So anyway, I can't stay too long, but on this thing,
Okay.
So that's what it is.
I understand. Before I let you go, you have a book coming out, right, Master Fong?
Yeah. Have a what?
You have a book coming out soon?
Yeah, I have a book coming out on the essence of. I think it's the essence of Wei Kuen Do. And it's written by Peter Hobart, who's a U.S. attorney, and he's been with me for a while. And I looked at it the other day and proved it was pretty good. And when it get there, get in touch with Lee, and he'll get you a copy.
Wow. Thank you for this interview, and thank you for your time, Master Fong. I know you're a busy man. God bless you.
Yeah, call me some other time, too, if you have any questions, okay?
Definitely will. Thank you. You have a great weekend or a great week.
Yeah, you too. All right, thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Indefinitely brought to you by World Martial Arts Radio.
Attention business owners. Reach over 100,000 martial artists a month by advertising with World Martial Arts Media. We can put your product, service, or event announcements in front of your target audience. Advertise with World Martial Arts Magazine, World Martial Arts Radio, World Martial Arts TV, or all 3 media sources for the biggest bang for your advertising buck. Visit www.worldmartialartsmedia.com and click on the advertising link to see just how amazingly affordable it can be.